Hi, this is Matthew with RetroEdge.tech, and I've been looking for a terminal emulator as part of my script, which I guess you would categorize as a bootstrapping script. And I'm definitely getting a lot of my inspiration from other video creators that are publishing about Linux. So I guess the inception of my idea for creating a script that would auto-install bspWM, which is a tiling window manager, and then some other things that would then configure it and add some things in so that it would be usable the way I wanted to use it, and then have that be able to run a script so that I could run that in a Linux live environment without even having to necessarily install. I could just live boot and then run the script, and then my environment of choice is set up, configured exactly how I want it to. Or if I set up a new machine for me, and then I could run this script, and then bspWM, the tiling window manager, and then other things that I want would be installed as a result of writing the script. And then, so it's also an exercise for me to get better at bash scripting, for me to understand these concepts, be able to apply them, and have something practical that I can use that's a result of the bash scripting work or learning that I'm doing. So one of the things that I ran into quite early on was that the gnome-terminal is the default in Ubuntu or Cinnamon, or GNOME 3, Cinnamon, several other desktop environments. So if I was running the script on Ubuntu, the gnome-terminal would be the terminal that's installed by default. And same thing with Cinnamon, which is, I've been using Linux Mint Cinnamon or Linux Mint Debian Edition with the Cinnamon desktop. That also has gnome-terminal installed by default. Currently on the computer that I'm using right here, it is the Manjaro Cinnamon version. So it also has gnome-terminal as the default. But I quickly ran into the issue where if I was, say, launching this on XFCE or on Alpine Linux. Alpine Linux is a whole nother topic because I'll have to approach applying my script in a different way to Alpine. But that idea that if gnome-terminal isn't installed, my scripts for having the terminal and the default when I press my shortcut keys to launch the terminal, I have it so that bspWM, when it starts, it opens a terminal. And right now, that is gnome-terminal in my current configuration. But I want this script to work in pretty much any Linux environment. I want to be able to run this script on Ubuntu, Linux Mint, Debian, Manjaro, Arch-based Linuxes, Fedora, whatever. I'd like to be able to run the script and have this configuration for this, essentially my own custom rolled desktop environment. I'd like to be able to roll that in. So I was getting my inspiration initially probably from Luke Smith. I have not used his package LARBS, which I believe stands for Luke's Auto-Ricing Bootstrapping Script, or something close to that. Essentially, it's his preferred configuration with his dot files of how certain applications are configured, and then it deploys that. So I'm sort of, I guess, writing my own version of that for how I want things set up with using bspWM, which is the tiling window manager that I decided to learn first. And then I guess through Brody Robertson's videos, I've learned that what I'm doing is called a bootstrapping script. And then from Derek Taylor's videos with DistroTube, I found out about Alacritty. I'm going to pronounce it Alacritty, which is another terminal that I found that fits this spot where I can use my script to install this terminal, Alacritty, and then not depend on gnome-terminal being installed. There's a couple reasons for doing this. One, I found out about it from DistroTube, the channel, Derek Taylor's channel, and he was going through about some reasons why you might want to check this out, and it ticked all of my boxes for the things that I was looking for. It's fast, it's kind of minimal, it doesn't come with tabbing or a menu bar or that sort of thing. And for a tiling window manager, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something fast, quick, and minimal. It's also it's written in the Rust programming language, which I'm a little bit interested in. I'm not a Rust programmer, but I'm interested in topics relating to the Rust programming language, so that this terminal is programmed in Rust. It's interesting to me. It's also available in most of the repositories, or for the things that I'd like. And in addition to that, it's configurable completely from one configuration file that can be stored in a directory inside the .config folder in the home folder. So that way I can develop my configuration the way I'd like it to, and have my script auto pull that down and install that configuration using my script, which is what I want. I want it to be able to be configured through one file, and so that way it's easier to deal with rather than the gnome-terminal. It's kind of hard to figure out how to configure that from a single configuration file and command line. I think it can be done, but it's not nearly as straightforward as a terminal like Alacritty, where you know exactly where the config file is, and the documentation on how to configure it is well done and easy to handle, and it makes sense when you look at it. So right away, also the thing that caught my eye is that Alacritty is available in Alpine Linux, which is a target for me. I've done some videos on that in the past. Feel free to check them out. But Alpine Linux is one of my targets, and first in alphabetical order there. It's available in the repositories for Alpine. Same with Arch Linux. I was able to install this on Manjaro, which is Arch-based. That works fine. It does look like you have to enable something for Fedora. I'm not really a Fedora user. I'll have to look into that. But there's other ways to do it as well, which I'm going to get around to. But the sticking point that provides a challenge is Pop! OS or Ubuntu. So I think if you're running Pop! OS, it's available in the Pop! OS repository, and you just apt install Alacritty, and down it comes and installs. Alacritty being the terminal that I'm wanting to use here in this auto-deployed script, or bspWM assist script that I'm working on. But if you're using regular Ubuntu or Linux Mint, you have to install a PPA, which is this extra repository thing. I don't want to have to do that. And so I kind of figured out a workaround for that. But first, I do want to mention just that I found out about this by browsing through and looking at Derek Taylor's videos from a little bit ago. On February 1st, he published a video about Alacritty and his switching to it, and that's the video that piqued my interest. So if my video gets you interested in Alacritty as a terminal, I highly recommend that you check out DistroTube's video on it as well. It's available both on YouTube and on Library. And his video is entitled Switching to the Alacritty Terminal Emulator. So if you search for that, you'll be able to find it, and I will also leave a link in my video description to DistroTube's video about it. So my workaround to essentially this not being available in the repositories is that it is available on the releases pages. So I've got the release page open here and the latest version of Alacritty, and then it gives a description of the things that were changed and fixed and that sort of thing, and the Alacritty. And then down here you can download specific installers or source files. So for example, there's a Windows portable. So if you're working on Windows and you didn't want to install it, you could actually download the zip file and just run it directly from that portable file without having to install it. If you want to install it on Windows, it's got an MSI. The thing that's of interest to me are the tarballs, which I think are a binary one, and the .deb files. So I can use a script to link to this particular thing You know, and essentially I can use wget to save this file or pull it down to the computer that I'm working on, and then I can use dpkg, the D package, option I, to install that. So from a command line interface, I can kind of work around and get the .deb package without having it being in the repository, because I can just pull it from this address where it's hosted on github.com's release pages for this project. So that's my workaround. I haven't tested that, but that's sort of my challenge. I think I've figured out a way to use my newfound shell scripting abilities to work around Alacritty not being in the Ubuntu repositories. So I'm going to test that out and see how it's going to be. So here is my bspWM assist script as it is right now. And I've got a few functions, and then am I missing something here? I think I might be missing something here, so I might have to go back and check. This might not be the current version, because I did go through and rewrite somehow how this works, so that it used Luke Smith's way of checking instead of using if statements. But I'm not seeing everything that I wanted called here and created. So this may not be the complete version. But essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function, which is in this syntax here, for dealing with downloading the deb file, so that it will tell the function is going to test to see if the apt program is installed. And then if it is, one of the things that it's going to run is I'm going to run an additional function after this to say, hey, here's how you pull down the .deb for the Alacritty terminal, and then use a command line option to install that. So that's essentially what I'm planning on doing. Things have been kind of crazy for me. Thank you for the responses. I did my most recent video was asking other people which RSS reader they use for reading news articles or subscribing to blogs and content. And lots of suggestions and recommendations for Newsboat, which is a terminal-based, command line-based news reader. I haven't installed it or used it or checked it out yet. I've been very busy. As a computer repair person, a lot of people in this time have been needing to work from home, and they're finding out that they need their computers repaired, or they need to do some upgrades or purchase an additional computer. So I have actually been quite busy. A lot of other video creators in the Linux world have been saying, hey, I've got some extra spare time on my hands, I'm going to be doing some extra videos. For me, the opposite is the case. I have been very busy with regular work as I help people get set up to work from home. So I haven't had nearly as much time to do videos in the last week as I have had previously. So I'm getting back at it, and here is my overview of choosing Alacritty as the terminal emulator to add to my bspWM assist script. Those are some of my reasons. If you use Alacritty, feel free to let me know how what you think of it. If you tried it out and then decided on something else, let me know that too. That'd be great. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.